Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here with you. We're just going to bring it down a little, but still hold that joy in our hearts. And I'll be lighting the Christ candle. In the beginning was the one presence of the undivided and unmanifest pure spirit of life, light, and love. In its generosity, it shared itself, its consciousness, and its love in the visible form of creation. We acknowledge this presence within us and as us, the creative energy expressing in all our giftedness and creativity. We acknowledge this in our companion Earth and in all sentient beings. This universal presence in everything we call the Christ. We light this candle as a visible reminder of the Christ's presence, expressing in, as, and through us in this present now moment. All right, welcome everyone. My name is Jill Meadows. I'm your service assistant today. And our minister is our beloved Frank Castro-Wehr, and he'll come up and tell you a little bit about the talk today.
Yeah, thanks, Jill. Hi, everybody. Hey. So the talk title today is Soul Refreshment for Our Journey. I found this quote from Myrtle Fillmore. It's in your bulletin. I'm going to share it with you. Listen to the stillness within your own soul. You will find it resonant with a new tongue. Yeah, a new way, being resonant with our soul. We find a resonance with a new way of being, speaking, showing up, expressing ourselves. So today, drum roll, that's what we're going to talk about. And it's good, yeah.
Wonderful. And our music ministry welcomes our guest musicians, Helen and Stephen, today, and Cheryl Hodge and Kate Curtis as our service musicians. As we prepare for our time of reflection and meditation, please hold this meditation music quietly in your hearts.
Prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Sing along if you'd like. God, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
So beautiful. I love that piece. Thank you. And now, as we prepare for a time of prayer, let's just take some nice deep breaths. Remembering we are a sanctuary. of love, of peace, of healing, not just for ourselves, but for our loved ones, our community, and the world. And feel free to speak aloud anyone or anything you would like to have included in this prayer. As we enter into this time of meditation, let's take some more deep breaths and the next few moments to settle into ourselves. Breathing more and more deeply, perhaps extending both the inhale and the exhale as comfortable. Until we find an easy, natural cadence. If you find yourself rebelling at all to being in this body, this moment, this place, this time, or if you feel any thoughts interfering with your inner peace, as you breathe in and out, rest in non-resistance. Non-resistance is not passive. It's an intentional state of being in the flow of spirit. I breathe in non-resistance to this current condition. I breathe in non-resistance to all that is. I rest in non-resistance. Next, gently focus your attention on your heart center. Let it fully expand with each breath. Feel the love in yourself, this moment, this room. Gently extend this love to include all in this shared space, this collective experience, our extended community, and our beloved planet Earth. As you continue to breathe in and out from this heart center, rest in this oneness. Oneness with life. Oneness with love. Oneness with all that is. Oneness with God. Now, from this place of non-resistance and oneness, open yourself to the field of unlimited possibilities, this sphere of healing and forgiveness and wholeness. Breathe in and out transcendence, feeling all separateness dissolving, transcendence of limited circumstances, transcendence of any apparent obstacles, continue to breathe in and out as we rest in the silence, allowing ourselves to bask in this peace that surpasses all understanding, and extending this peace to all creation. As you take your next several breaths, gently become more aware of your surroundings. Maybe wiggle your fingers and toes and stretch a little. Listen to the sounds you hear. Gradually return your awareness to the service, but stay present in this moment. During the upcoming weeks, if you feel stressed or irritated, remember non-resistance. The universe fully supports us. When you feel overwhelmed, remember oneness and realign with the divine. If you feel discouraged or hopeless, remember transcendence and our power to co-create and tap into the love and abundance that is always available to us. And so it is.
God within me, God without. How shall I ever be in doubt? There is no place where I may go and not there see God's face. Not know I am God's vision and God's ear. So through the harvest of my years, I am the sower and the sown. God's self unfolding and God's own. God within us, God without. How shall we ever be in doubt? There is no place where we may go
to sit with that for a while. I was still in oneness meditation, and then now I'm a little confused. Wow. Thank you. Where were the lyrics from? A poem? Make it a rune-covered gravestone from the Middle Ages. And yeah, wow. The things you find on a gravestone, that's amazing. A while ago in the 1990s, Diane and I went to a protest. But the leader of this protest, his name was Father Louis Vitale, this Franciscan monk I knew. And he said, you can join us, but not before 3 days of nonviolent training. So we went on Friday. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning. And we sank into this energy of nonviolence and talking about what it meant to be fully engaged, but in a way that encouraged communion and cooperation and loving the other and not being in a place of separation, but being in a place of oneness. Being in a place of oneness. This story just came to me on your meditation. I wasn't going to do this. So to be in this place of oneness, during the training, we had a law enforcement officer come in and said to this person, there's a lot of people that are going to be in here, and we're going to cross the line onto the nuclear test site in Vegas, and some people will be willing to get arrested. What would you like from us? And he said, oh, thank you for asking. He said, please don't flop. And you know what flopping, some people get arrested and they just go limp. And he said, we're a bunch of the middle-aged older guys get this duty, and our backs hurt for weeks if we got to pick you guys up and carry you to the jail. Nonviolent training. It wasn't to confront and see the police as the other. It was to go and find a way to say, in a place of nonviolence, we will be here because there's something that we want to say from a place of love and care and concern and compassion and appreciation of the earth and humanity. But we're not gonna make you the enemy. We're gonna rise above that and be in a posture of nonviolence. And we were weaving this ginormous, it was a loop as big as this podium, and we were weaving different kind of feathers and material and rocks and stones and things into this weave. And then we practiced songs, and we were sitting there singing songs and talking about nonviolence. And in the end, we carried this, there was like 30 of us carrying this big loop, this hoop, up to the website. And the lead sheriff came up and he goes, Father Louis, you crossed that line, you're going to be arrested. And he stepped over the line. And he goes, you're under arrest, Father Louis. He goes, okay. How you doing, Bill? He goes, good. And by the way, Susie wanted to know if you got time, can you come over for dinner this weekend? And he goes, sure. And he goes, yeah, we don't need to do that. And he just took him, and they built a jail on site, and they took everyone under arrest, and they put you in there was no roof on it. It was just this thing outside, little pen. You're all under arrest. He says, I'll tell Susie you called. We'll get together. Nonviolent training, nonviolent confrontation, nonviolent that did what it needed to do, but said, but I'm not othering you. I'm not vilifying you. There's a way that we're showing up from a place of deep compassion and concern where we sunk into this place of oneness, and now we're being with you in a new way. This little statue of Diane's, this elder holding the younger in an embrace. We're not going to hate you. Go back 1965. I was 6. Martin Luther King and a couple thousand pieces crossing the Pettus Bridge on what now is known as Bloody Sunday, walking hand in hand. They too had done weeks of nonviolent training. And on the other side of the bridge, dogs, batons, state troopers. But they went forward in a place of nonviolence. And by the way, the nonviolent way takes more work, takes more time, takes more energy, And it might seem it takes longer to see the fruits of the action. And so many people said to Martin Luther King, when will this happen? He says, oh, it's coming. And it's already here, and it's also coming. And it's coming. But we don't do it in the way outside of seeing a separateness. His essence was, he called it the Bourbon aristocracy. I'm not sure where that word came from. It's what he called it in his writings. And the people want to create this aristocracy. There are some who want to separate, in his words, the poor whites and the poor blacks, so that we'll be so busy fighting each other, we won't see the way that all of us have been kept in a state that's injustice, that's disenfranchised from the common good of all. So as long as we're fighting each other, we don't see what's really going on. That's what Martin Luther King in 1965 said. Quite the prophet, huh? Let's keep people fighting each other. Say, look over there, don't look over here, is what King said. Oh, it's the refugee, it's the immigrant, it's these people, fight them. Don't look over here. Some things continue on. And part of the solution in nonviolence is we start to embrace the other. Instead of separating, there's this embrace. Oh, this story is ancient. 3,000 years ago, we think, there's this person named Abraham. This is a classic story, that one of the most popular stories in Christianity, Judaism, Islam. The founder, they say, is this person named Abraham. This is the month of faith. We've been talking, we have the blue candle. The theme of this month is faith. And Abraham is all about faith, meaning I know that what's in my mind, what I hold is true, the ideals and the beliefs that I contain will manifest. I will manifest them. So be careful on what we're thinking, holding, believing, and holding in our consciousness, because that's what we're going to outpicture. Abraham had a message. We don't know how it says. It says El Shaddai spoke to him. I say so. It's always an interesting image. The God, the Lord spoke to, and it spoke to Abraham. In those days, the way the words were was El Shaddai, which means the breasted one. And from the Bronze Age, many of those ancient icons were these feminine goddess figures. It was that kind of image that conjures up, spoke to Abraham and said, you will be the father, Abraham, the father of a multitude. Because, now, time out. I'm not talking history here. Whether there was someone named Abraham with his wife Sarah and all these, I have no idea if these people actually existed, and it's actually not so important to me as the point of the story, which we read, these are all energies of our lives. Everybody has an Abraham in them. That's your energy that says, what I'm holding, I can produce a multitude, be the father of a multitude, to create. What am I going to create? He had a wife, Sarah, and Sarah is like the soul, the spiritual essence, the spiritual soul of us. Everybody has a Sarah. And this faith that says, as long as I'm with Sarah, what we outpicture is going to be magnificent and aligned with this. We always talk about being aligned with the spiritual vibration, this spiritual truth, this ultimate truth. We want to be aligned with that spiritual message. And Abraham and Sarah had it, and they had a message. You will be together. You will be the parents of a multitude. This generative, ongoing, expression, spiritual expression. They said, that's cool, but we're 85 and 60, Sarah was, I think, 70, and he was 85 years old. He goes, that's really good, but how's that going to happen? Nice promise, but we don't get it. It's okay when we don't get it. So Sarah has an idea. It says, well, I'm 75, and God promised, so I get an idea. I have this servant woman. Her name's Hagar. Hagar, Hagar. I always remember, Sammy Hagar from, yeah. Hagar, okay. The red rocker, yeah. She showed up, yeah. It's, yeah, this group knows who I'm talking about. So Hagar is young and says, Abraham, because, in those days, if this is my servant and she has kids with my husband, that's really my kid too. So take Hagar, who instantly gets pregnant and is going to have a child named Ishmael. But Hagar gets like, now I got I'm the better wife here. And Abraham gets Sarah gets really upset at this and says, now she's looking down on me, throw her out. So Abraham says, oh, okay. So, gets rid of Hagar, sends her out into the desert. Now imagine for thousands of years, this story is being told around a campfire, right? Oh yeah, he had this other wife and the first wife got mad and kicked her out. And do you see how the power of this story has a power to, you don't forget this story. If we went on and talked 20 minutes in theological sort of talk, we'd forget half of it, walk out the door. But these stories, who are so potent with deep, deep spiritual messages, we remember them, right? This is this powerful story. So Sarah says, get rid of Hagar. Hagar, by the way, represents another component of our soul. More like, you might even see, you write it sometimes as the mortal soul instead of the immortal soul, if you can use those terms. We have a Sarah and a Hagar here. Sarah and Hagar. There's a play in this consciousness. And so Hagar's out there, and God, of course, shows up again and says, Hagar, what's the problem? And he threw me out. He says, you need to go back, and you need to chill, and you're the servant of Sarah. You need to adopt that posture. Be the servant of Sarah. Now, on the literal part, it's like, well, you're saying slavery, and this. You got to read this as a spiritual story. The Hagar energy, the mortal energy, the ego, if you will, needs to be in service to the deep, essential soul. She needs to be in service of the soul. That's the right relationship. Not thrown away. It's not like, no, I'm spiritual. No more ego for me. Yeah, try that. See how it works. She embraces the Hagar. But she's not going to let the Hagar energy run the show. Don't let ego drive the car. The ego needs to be in the car. But it's the higher essential self that rises up. This immortal soul energy leading the show, but we always need this other piece. This transformation, this sort of deep part of my spiritual life that happened when we went with Louis Vitale out to the nuclear test site. This is really strange to me. You just try to figure out the pattern and how this stuff works. That wouldn't have happened if there wasn't something we were pushing against. Going out to protest, there was something in our, how do we show up in this tension to learn something deeper about our spirituality? What is that? Martin Luther King that we know would not have been the Martin Luther King we know as he went to cross the bridge with those thousands of people and there wasn't state troopers and dogs and batons on the other side. There's something about that movement and facing that ego energy and that energy that, does it have to be that way? It just seems it is. And we face that pushback. And Sarah wouldn't have been Sarah and Hagar wouldn't have been Hagar unless they had this. There was something about the tension. But there's this calling for us when we align ourselves with that spiritual depth that says, I know there's that tension. I know this is out here. But from the spiritual perspective, I'm not going to get in a battle with it, have a win-lose contest. I'm going to find a way to be the elder sister, the Sarah hugging the Hagar. I'm going to find a way to embrace this without giving up the fact that I'm the older. This is the way forward. But I won't just kick it out. There's this tension. Hagar goes back and has her son Ishmael, and Abraham loves Ishmael. This is the evolution of things. Abraham's going, God said I'd be the multitude of natures. I took matters into my own hand, and I had a kid with the slave girl. Until he's in a tent, and these 3 strangers come walking across the desert. He says, give us food and water. Who are the strangers? Angels? God? The Trinity? Lots of books written about this. And they show up and they say, thank you for your hospitality. And by the way, we're going to come back, and a year from now, you're going to have a baby by Sarah. Now, I don't know why. This is a big part of the story. Sarah cracks up laughing. She's 100. And the 3 angels turn to her and go, were you laughing? And she's like, no, not me. I wasn't laughing. They go, you were laughing. Go, I was not. You were laughing. There's a whole part of the Bible about them arguing about, were you laughing or not? Because the spiritual part of us says, I can see, I have this vision, I have this faith that there's these things that can unfold and be true and expressed in my life. No, really, this can happen. Yeah, maybe. We might laugh. The song, your prayer about potentiality. We might laugh when we start embracing the truth of what our potentiality is and our wholeness is. It's easy to laugh, like, is that really true? And the angels go, yep. And a year later, they have Isaac. So he has his older son, Ishmael, who's now about 13, 14 years old, and now Isaac. And you got to know, if you don't remember the whole story, what's important about Isaac marries Rebekah. They have Jacob and Esau. And Jacob changes his name to Israel, has 12 children, and on goes the tradition of the Israelites. And this is the thread of the whole story through Genesis. But the Ishmael thing was fast, it was quick. I got I can solve this myself, and I got Ishmael. But the unfolding in the Sarah, in that eternal, that deep spiritual sense, that unfolding took a little more time. And it was Isaac. And then Isaac and Rebekah, and then Jacob and Rachel and Leah. And the people said to Martin Luther King, when will it happen? Oh, it's coming. But why does it seem sometimes on the spiritual side, it just takes sometimes it feels like it takes a little more time, a little more unfolding, a little more seeing it happen in the spiritual time of things. The nonviolence means you got to go and take 3 days of training before you show up in a way where we get in the consciousness of how do we show up in this, from our Sarah self, in this posture of non-duality and non-separation and oneness consciousness. Or we can just do it really quick and get mad, and get angry and just spout off over here. Which way do we want to go? It takes a little bit longer on the spiritual side. And once again, why isn't it easier? But why isn't it easier? But it seems to be the way of things that Sarah and Abraham became Sarah and Abraham, and Hagar and Ishmael were part of the story. Part of the story. And not a part that was thrown away, by the way. So whatever happened to them? Well, later, they throw him out again. Sarah says, okay, now we got our kid. Ishmael's the older son. This is a threat. Throw him out. And Abraham does. Takes Hagar and Ishmael and throws them out again. This is not to say it's a good spiritual thing to throw out your family into the desert. You got to read it spiritually. There's a sense where the spiritual sense of this raising of the Isaac energy said, right now I need a period of time where I've had a new understanding. I've had an Isaac moment. I've had, from that place of my soul, there's something new alive, and right now I'm having a hard time dealing with the Ishmael stuff. I need a break. But later, Abraham dies, and in rides Ishmael. And at the funeral, the two sons, Ishmael and Isaac, stood side by side to honor their father. Side by side. Side by side. This journey, I know we want to be spiritual, but this other part of us, it's just part of it. It's part of the whole unfolding. Israel and Isaac and Ishmael, side by side, in this unfolding story. Yeah. So I wondered for us today, I'll end on this little piece. I find myself with my Sarah Isaac moments, but I got a lot of Hagar Ishmael stuff in my life. Do you know what I'm talking about? And it feels like this ongoing challenge between, I got to get rid of that. I'm not that anymore. And I go, yeah, I am. That's part of me too. And you know what? Ishmael and Hagar are a part of me and you too. And that is as it should be. It is the pattern. It is how it is. It is the unfolding. It seems to me that to have the Sarah and Isaac and the Israel, that whole lineage, for that to happen along the journey, there's the Hagar Ishmaels. It seems to me to find this great, deep spiritual awakening that Martin Luther King had on the bridge, this powerful movement for the Voters' Rights Act and for the Civil Rights Movement. Right on schedule. Good job. It seemed to me for that movement to happen, it needed. I'll wait. For those on the video, a deer's walking by right here. Yeah, it's one of our congregants, Yeah, get it a name tag. For those of you newer, you notice the chairs are in a circle. Imagine the circle continuing out. It continues out all the way to the creek, and then it comes back. Yeah, it's all our congregants. It's all us. They're all invited. They're all here. Yeah. The point is, I think what I want to leave you with, it seems to me, see if you read it this way, see if this story speaks to you this way as it does to me, that in all those stories with Father Louis and doing the peace march, or Martin Luther King on the bridge, or, finding Hagar and Ishmael, and that there's this, that we're in a human world where these tensions are part of the story, and actually we don't get to where we want to be, to where we're being called to be without them. Listen, I spent time in a monastery. You think, in the monastery it's all spiritual and there's no tension. No. This is the way of it. And that's not wrong. It's not bad. This is the creation that we have, the divine creation. And it's, as far as I can tell, reading back to the Old Testament, that Abraham was 2,000 years old, 2,000 BCE. These stories have been around. Yeah. I want to end with a little piece. So I wondered, given that it's Martin Luther King Day, I thought tomorrow, Sacred Social Action Framework from Unity Movement. And I thought I'd leave you with just a few bullets of a framework that says when we do spiritual social action, think Martin Luther King, think Louis Vitale, think, working it out in the desert in your family, whether that's internal, whether it's family, whether it's community, whether it's in our country. What are the principles from unity? Whatever we do for social action, first, ground it in prayer, meditation, and find your Sarah soul. It doesn't say that. It says spiritual guidance. Start there before we do anything out here. Every act of service, every act of advocacy, center it in love, wholeness, oneness, and dignity. Whatever we do, the point is we're creating a space for healing to happen. Any kind of affirmation, renewal, and anything we do when we go forward in a sort of an action way in the culture, create a space for reconciliation, forgiveness. Partner with secular institutes and interfaith institutes. With secular institutes, be sure you partner with all people, but then be sure we bring Unity's distinctive contribution, which we're transforming in consciousness. In consciousness. Inspire creative expressions of justice. And justice can be brought forward through art, prayer vigil, service to the poor, and practicing our own prosperity. And in all ways, when we pursue justice, balance your head and your heart. Balancing the head and the heart, so that both wisdom and compassion work together as instruments of divine love. So that the head and the heart, wisdom and compassion, always work together as an instrument for divine love. Yeah. So there's the message today. Happy Martin Luther King Day. Beautiful person. Man. A few announcements. Oh, this is just a total side note. Last year I went to this thing called Fire and Story, and it's down at the Granary. So I just want to mention, it's happening next week. Anyone been to Fire and Story? If you've ever been to a moth thing and you like storytelling, it's really, have you been? You've heard about it? Yeah. Yeah. It's a great event. And it's nice because you go out and it's usually cold and you bundle up and there's bonfires and there's storytelling tents all over and there's a dance place and there's saunas and there's all sorts of things. Carl and I are volunteering Friday night. I heard that it's supposed to be 32 degrees and raining. Yes. But the show will go on. The tents are covered. So, you get warm by the fire. Anyhow, just it's one of those Bellingham things. It's so unique. So I just thought I'd mention it. Yeah. Next week is our contemplative service. I think most of you have done this, but it's fourth Sunday. So we little up-tempo today. We're going to just have a ritual next week. So please join us for the contemplative service. Marie, you're doing the meditation next week? Yeah, good. Have you here. Earth Care folks, we're doing a little gardening out here. We're going to clean up the garden. Even if you're not in Earth Care and you want to hang out for a half hour, so I don't think it'll take us too long, we're going to do some Earth Care garden cleaning up afterwards. And one other thing I wanted to mention is that these came in your mail, these pledge cards. And we've gotten a whole lot back, but we want to try to get them all back by the end of the month. And by the way, in the past years, we've had every year we have a little gift. In the past, we've had these little unity symbol magnets. This time, we have flower magnets for you. So if you've given it, so you got to have this magnet, man. It's really important. The value is in what it means to you. And, I was thinking about, I just say a piece about these pledge cards. There's two ways to think about, and what this helps us is it just sort of tells us as we're budgeting for next year, like what we would expect for just the budget. There's a Hagar way and a Ishmael way of thinking about it. It's a very sort of earthy way. It's a very sort of practical way. Well, we have to pay the bills, and there's the gas, and there's the heat, and there's a budget, right? And so we want to figure out what, there's that very practical way. There's also a Sarah Isaac way to think about it. From the place of Abraham that has faith that there is something, and I don't always understand it fully, but I feel into the energy and I trust this unfolding of something beyond even my expectations that is unfolding in this community with this group in this ministry we call Unity of Bellingham. From the Abraham-Sarah consciousness is we have high expectations of what has gratitude for what's unfolded, and an energy for excitement for what still is to unfold. From that energy, I want to pledge my time, some money, some energy, ideas, my vision to the unfolding of the possibilities of this community. And not only that, we are being joined. Look around at the empty seats right now and know for each of these seats, it represents an ancestor who has been here, who gifted, for 60 years we've been here now, who gifted Unity of Bellingham to us from their vision. And it also represents some of these seats, people, some of them who aren't even born yet. Think of this. There are people who aren't even shown up in expression on planet Earth that are going to be sitting in these chairs someday. And is there a way to envision, how do we build this world, this movement? In some ways, an important part, we don't have to be all, but what is our beautiful, important role in this greater community that we want to express ourselves through money and through energy and through volunteering, service, and different, and in some ways, I say this over and over, what we really need is to offer your inspiration, your vision, your ideas. What are we going to do this year, y'all? I'm still getting calls from people around the country going, we heard about your conference. I talked to someone in Michigan the other day. I heard about the conference you did in Bellingham. How did you do that? I heard it was incredible. You did that. What are we going to do this year? Oh, got some ideas already. But what are yours? This is an us thing. Yeah. And how do we go forward from this spiritual part? And there's a lot of Hagar, Ishmael energy out there that we need to embrace and bring in and move through. This pledge card does not just represent the Hagar energy of, well, we got to pay the bills, we should give some money. It's more, what would we want to contribute to our budget, to our mission, to the ministry, to align ourselves on that vibration? I ran out of my time on my talk, so I just clued that in at the end.